Escaping into space is having a moment again. While we can't all be Jeff Bezos or William Shatner and launch into space ourselves, we can live vicariously watching them take off. Not surprisingly, futuristic, space-inspired homes are having a moment again, too. Put on your spacesuits, we're taking a look back at early atomic age architecture and then rocketing forward to houses inspired by the new space age. In the 1950s and 60s, when Americans were fixated on flying to the moon, architects like John Lautner, Oscar Niemeyer, and others took inspiration from the sculptural designs of spaceships, both real and fictional, for their modern buildings. Space travel captured the imagination of millions of people who tuned in to watch the first moon landing. So did movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey and popular cartoons like The Jetsons. We'll start our tour of space-age homes at the Chemisphere House, designed by John Lautner in the hills above Los Angeles. The striking octagonal house sits atop a concrete column, and in 1960 it was considered the epitome of modern design. The reference to a spaceship is pretty obvious. I mean, just look at this house. It's basically a flying saucer. Can't you just imagine aliens looking out from the windows? But the curved walls and cantilevered overhangs would also satisfy many of today's modern architecture buyers. Next up, we're visiting another house designed by Lautner, the Elrod House in Palm Springs, another hulking UFO-shaped mansion. The house has a circular concrete canopy above the living room and curved glass walls. E.T. would be right at home. In fact, the house was featured in the 1971 James Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever. While they may look out of this world, these houses actually have details that resonate with the way people like to live. They have natural materials, walls of glass, a blurring of indoor-outdoor living, and sleek, simple lines. In the Elrod House, for example, large rocks from the surrounding landscape are incorporated into the living room. Strap yourself in, we're headed back to the future. Some of today's architects are inspired by the new space age and are fascinated by futurism and tech innovations. The difference today is that smart home features make it even easier to live like the Jetsons. Who knew that George Jetson's futuristic video calls would become mundane for everyone stuck at home on Zoom in the 2020s? While space-age design today includes plenty of the same elements as the earlier version of this architectural style, tech innovation means that walls of glass can now peel away, for example, automatically, and 3D printing and prefab elements can be used to get that super smooth, fluid look that's common in space-age homes. Take the luxury building 1000 Museum in Miami, designed by the late architect Zaha Hadid. Those curving walls and floating staircases look even more elegant with curved glass railings. Rounded walls soften the building's more angular shapes, and the gentle curves of the balconies and terraces could easily replicate a spaceship. Next, we'll head to Coral Gables to see a house designed by Tuesday Studios that has a cantilevered roof reminiscent of John Lautner's work. The walls of glass across the back of the house facing the water take advantage of the technology that allows most of them to fully open. The angled walls emphasize the sophistication of space-age design, but the use of wood and terrazzo floors softens that design by incorporating natural materials. The husband and wife architects of this house, Jacqueline Gonzalez Tuesday and Carlos Prio Tuesday, live in their own 1950s space-age house that they renovated in Coral Gables, and often use their own home as inspiration for their modern space-age designs. Still in South Florida, the house known as La Escondida, also designed by Tuesday Studios, is elevated for cross-ventilation and has the distinctive sculptural style of space-age design. The house has walls of floor-to-ceiling glass, including a cantilevered primary bedroom that seems to float among the trees. In Miami, Tuesday Studios also designed a house with a 25-foot cylindrical void in the center that includes a partially suspended spiral staircase with a glass roof above. The rest of the house is designed as a set of open boxes that float over the waterway like a spaceship. Atomic age houses aren't limited to the US. This residence in the Capitol Hill area of Moscow, designed by Zaha Hadid architects, looks like it belongs on the set of Star Wars. Its distinctive style includes the fluid forms and walls of glass the architect is famous for, along with the 72-foot high tower that overlooks the trees. It's easy to imagine stormtroopers marching up the front walk into this amazing house. And back in New York City, we can visit the condos at 520 West 28th Street, also designed by Zaha Hadid Architects. The look of these condos is based on biomorphic design, which takes organic shapes found in nature and replicates them for residential spaces. The result, sculptural spaces that resemble the atomic age curves of John Lautner's homes. What do you think of these space age designs? Tell us in the comments below and be sure to hit subscribe.